What's up, people? Welcome back to Invest with T-Claus. My name is Tevi, and this channel is dedicated to my investment journey, along with coverage on crypto, Tesla, Neo, Virgin Galactic, and ChargePoint. Come for the information and stay for the perspective. So we haven't talked about the marathon stock since before the Bitcoin halving went into effect. It's kind of crazy to think that a month has gone by since then. But before we get into that, I've got to give a massive shout out to my newest super thanks supporter, Bobito3360. Not only has he made the largest financial contribution to the channel to date, but he also added some personalized words of encouragement. I truly appreciate the gesture and the words of support. Thank you so much. If any of you would like to get more details about Super Thanks and how to use it, check out this video here. Now, getting back on topic, Marathon Digital, right? They reported their earning results last week, and though the results were mixed, there were some golden nuggets dropped. And so in today's video, I'll go over some key highlights from the call and a significant announcement you may have missed. We'll then take a look at the current analyst recommendations for the stock, some changes here, and I'll close with what I'm personally doing as far as buying, holding, or selling. As always, this is not to be taken as financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is my personal approach to investing and the thought process behind it. I'd recommend watching all the way through so that you don't miss out on anything pertinent I will be sharing. Drop the video an early like if you haven't already, and smash that subscribe button. Those are two easy ways to show your support to the channel and help it grow if you appreciate the content. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the punchline, and that would be that Marathon Digital did in fact beat expectations by delivering a positive earning per share, or EPS. Expectations were for an EPS of 22 cents. Instead, Mara reported a significant outperformance here with an EPS of $1.26. Some of the highlights behind the results: revenue increased 223% on a year-over-year basis to $165.2 million. That EPS number I quoted you represents a net income increase of 184% year-over-year to $337.2 million. Energized hash rate now sits at 27.8 exahash, which represents a 142% year-over-year increase. And if that was not impressive enough, remember that they are now guiding to reaching 50 exahash by the end of this year. So essentially, another double by year end. They're not messing around, right? If we take a look at their Bitcoin production, it increased by 28% on a year-over-year basis, with 2,811 Bitcoin mined, but it was down 34% from last quarter. This was primarily due to the various downtime issues they were plagued with throughout the quarter, so a bit of a mixed bag here. Also, they sold some Bitcoin to continue to support operation and further reduce their debt. But before you panic, realize that they further increased their liquid capital to $1.6 billion between their cash equivalents, and the Bitcoin held on their balance sheet, which as of today, Wednesday, sits at 17,631 Bitcoins. That is massive, right? So this brings me to the first gold nugget that may have gone unnoticed, and that would be the adoption of the FASB fair value accounting rules. The main benefit here, of course, is that they are now able to, and actually required, to report the value of their crypto holdings based on the actual market value on an ongoing basis, versus being held to only reporting the cost basis at the time of purchase or sale. Put simply, this accounting standard allows Marathon Digital to report the price appreciation on their Bitcoin as revenue they generated. This is incredibly beneficial and a big reason for the outperformance we saw this quarter with the EPS and the net income the way it showed up. The higher the Bitcoin price, the more revenue they can recognize against their Bitcoin held on their balance sheet. But maybe one of the most significant pieces of news that dropped in the last few days that you may have missed is the inclusion of Marathon Digital as the first Bitcoin miner to be added to the SP600. This is a major milestone and an accomplishment, right? The SP600 is the index benchmark for small cap companies in the same way that the SP500 tracks the 500 biggest companies publicly traded in the US. The SP600 tracks 600 of the top level companies in the US with a market cap between $1 billion and $6.7 billion. Besides the market cap requirement, the other big factor for inclusion is profitability, right? And so over the past 4 quarters, Marathon Digital has been delivering on that. So that's why they got included. The relevance here and why this inclusion is such a big deal is this. it introduces a new set of investors to buying the stock. Keep in mind that there are well over 10 ETFs that track the SP 600. Each of them need to buy the stock of every company that is included in the index in order to closely track its performance. And secondly, anyone who prefers to invest through an ETF versus buying the underlying stock would now automatically invest into Mara, whether they realize it or not, the second they buy into those ETFs. What this all boils down to is a big plus for the Mara stock increasing in value. The last big thing to note here, and this is a big one, Marathon announced that it was aligning its executive compensation package directly in line with the company and stock performance. This could unlock up to $33 million in bonuses that can only be awarded to their top executives if the stock price performs well. This in turn incentivizes them to make the right decisions to drive shareholder value. At the time of the recording, the stock is up just over 12% on the day if you add in after hours, and is trading at $20.30. Now, moving on to analyst ratings, based on the Q1 results, analyst price targets were adjusted. The biggest adjustment came from analyst Kevin Diddy, who maintained his buy rating based on the strong financial position and strategic initiatives Mara has displayed. He did, however, cut his price target from $35 down to $27 due to the near-term challenges that have impacted Mara's Bitcoin production. The overall recommended consensus rating is a hold. That recommendation is made up of 6 ratings altogether, with 1 buy rating from Kevin, 4 hold ratings, and 1 sell rating. The high end of the range dropped from $35 to now $27 on Kevin's recommendation. The low end of the range remains unchanged at $14.30. The average consensus price target was dropped from $22.55 to now $19.96. Which we have now gone past after today's move. It is worth noting that the entire market had a solid positive day today, predicated on the inflation results coming in lower than expected. The SP 500 hit a new milestone by closing for the first time ever above the 5,300 level. Bitcoin is now up to $66,000 and climbing. And so with inflation easing, we could be back on track for rate cuts sooner rather than later. And all of that bodes extremely well for Mara. With all this in mind, how do I think about the Mara stock and what am I personally doing? The last time we spoke, I told you that the stock could fail below the 200-day moving average. That's the blue line you see on the screen, and possibly even a bit lower post-Bitcoin halving. And we did just that. We then pushed back up above the 50-day moving average. That's the light red line you see on the screen, leading into the earning call, right? That was followed by a quick pullback and now the move back up today. And so there are 2 things I'm paying attention to here. Since the recent local bottom just before the halving, we've made a series of higher lows and higher highs, taking us above the 50-day moving average. And secondly, if you zoom out even farther out to the actual bottom from the last cycle, we are clearly in an uptrend, as you can see in the channel here. And so looking on a longer term horizon, the last golden cross was the start of the previous bull cycle for Mara in January of 2021. That led to the blow off top of $75 in November of that year. We're now once again getting closer to that parabolic move. This tells me that any weakness in the price of Mara is a buying opportunity. And so as long as I have capital available, I will be a buyer. That's the reason why I recently added another 50 share just this past week at $20.10. Looking at the RSI currently sitting at 57.10, there is room for the momentum to carry us higher, especially if Bitcoin keeps climbing. And I would say that it's not quite the time just yet to head towards $75, but $22 to $25 is not out of the question near term. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The way I see it, Mara is well positioned to be one of the top beneficiaries with the Bitcoin halving now behind us. They have the capital to continue to expand through acquisition opportunities of smaller players, as well as growing revenue by diversifying their business into new verticals, as they stated during the earning call. The bottom line, and really the last thing that I will say, is this. It seems to me that the correlation between the Bitcoin price and the mining stocks is back. Bitcoin has been consolidating and prepping for its next leg up as more institutions are now buying in. Looking at the Mara chart, the same thing can be said about their next leg up being just around the corner. And so in the end, if we were to only return to the previous all-time high on Mara, and that's being conservative, that's 4 times the return on investment from the current level. That's my baseline expectation here, which means that a significant enough investment here could easily bring me into 6-figure returns territory when it's all said and done. That is the goal here. And so accumulating as much as I can while I can at these levels while we are consolidating is definitely the path forward as far as I'm concerned. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But on that note, that is it for me today. If you found value in my content and feel so inclined, super thanks are appreciated. Remember to click the like button and share with others who you think could also benefit from it. For my newcomers, subscribe. It's free. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so that you too can stay in the know. I'll be back on Sunday for my weekly video. Till then, you can keep up with me here on X for crypto and NFT related news. Thank you for watching. Stay humble, hustle hard, and I'll see you in the next one.